Hey guys, Half here with another devlog. This one's going to be more general state of affairs rather than about Project Momentum in particular. And I think I'll do that format from now on, honestly. Maybe put a separate section for Momentum and put what I've been up to since the last video on its own. Anyway, before I get into the fun stuff, bit of bad news. My flash drive ended up corrupted, and by that I mean I got scammed. As it turns out, the one I was using did not actually hold 2 terabytes and failed within a couple of months of its purchase, so I had to send that in to get data retrieved. I also lost the script for the information on what I worked on when I was in the other location because, as you can see, you know what, we'll get to that later. When I was in the other locations, and I'm going to wait on that until I get my data back from outsource, or might just end up skipping it entirely. Yes, I'm going to wait at least a month until I have a script I could probably just redo by watching the previous video and seeing what I've done since then. Shut up. Alright, so what can I talk about for this month? What have I actually been up to? Since, well, the end of May, actually. Well, as I alluded to earlier, and as you can see, I've moved from one location to another. I was in my apartment in another state. That's not really important. But yeah, you can see that. I've moved. That's what I was doing for the last half of June and the second week of July, the first being the trip I alluded to in my previous devlog. But I have been busy. I've been doing stuff on the project. I've been messing around with the code. And in particular, I joined with Blackthornprod's Pass the Game Jam on 2 different days. Links should be in the description if I didn't forget. For day 1, I created a small platforming prototype that I've been thinking about off and on for years now that I called Keep the Light Alive. For day 3, I worked on the day 3 version of Fantasy World. Now for Keep the Light Alive, you were in a dark environment. You would navigate by light created by your character, glowing like a light bulb. And when you lost energy, the light would fade and it would get darker, making it harder to navigate as well as to see potential enemies in the dark. There would be occasional light sources that you could drain, regaining your energy while putting out those light sources, and you could fire little blasts of energy that would briefly light up the area they were traveling through. I also wanted a secondary attack that would do a lot of damage, but would cost a lot of energy and only light up the area momentarily. Big laser. That didn't end up happening. Anyway, for that one, I think my biggest issue was that I focused too much on making the player controller work. Like, I got wall jumping working in particular, but it was a pain in the ass, and it didn't really help the overall game. But I did manage to get like a full gameplay loop into there, complete with death screen. Although, in retrospect, I probably should have focused on making an exit since I wanted the player to navigate the dark rather than fight the enemies. And by the end of it, I started to secretly hope that the next dev would turn it into a top-down shooter. Day 3 dev did that. Because having it as a 2D platformer / shooter felt very disjointed. And they also made my new avatar on itch.io, so thank you, purab. No, I have not changed my YouTube avatar for that one. You'll see it when you click the link. Now, Fantasy Game Day 3. I skipped Day 2 because I was exhausted by Keep the Light Alive. And that was a lot more energy than I was expecting. It didn't help that I stayed up till 3 a.m. working on the thing. Now for Day 3, I took Fantasy Game, again, link in the description, and added some exploration elements. I programmed in some points of interest code that would automatically track when you found an interesting area and how many of them there were still in the game. Added some ruins, a graveyard, a tomb separate from that graveyard, a group of fairies, and I made the endpoint indicator a wizard tower. Previously it was just a big green cylinder. Big problem there was that I used a few asset store packets to make them, and they were massive files that I didn't bother cleaning out before I tried to upload the thing. And I also wanted to add like a little ferry at the very start of the game. It would be immediately in your field of view, and it would go off to the side towards the grove. And then from there, you could see the end goal tower in the distance, as well as some of the ruins that I had added. But I couldn't get the code to work properly. The ferry would stop partway to the grove, and I never could figure out why, though I think it has to do with how they stored their home location. I am a little bit disappointed that Keep the Light didn't make it all the way to the end, but I was able to get a lot done and figure out a lot about how game creation works from the jam. Triggers, for example, and wall jumps. So, earlier I said that this wasn't going to be all about momentum. So, the Unity project that I've been using to create momentum, it was honestly just kind of a hodgepodge of ideas and attempts at mechanics, character controllers, and things like that. I ended up using it as like metaphorical scratch paper for Keep the Light Alive, and I figure I can continue doing that in the future. So for now, momentum is going to be put on the back burner a bit, and eventually once I have all the mechanics and concepts I want for it set up, I will move it into its own project and work on it from there. I have also been looking for a job specifically for remote programming work. So far, no luck, but I have enough experience that I'm sure I can get my foot in the door if I keep looking. I really do not want to work full-time in an office, so I'm going to stick to looking for remote work or work in my city. If I haven't found anything by October, then I'm probably just going to have to drop that restriction and hope I don't end up having to move again. Okay, so that's what I've been doing for the last couple of months. So what's next? Well, I've signed myself up for 2 more game jams. Doing Keep the Light Alive and Fantasy Games Third Days for like the 4th time, link in the description. Taught me a lot about game dev, but I want to try and build something in full, not just start something and then let somebody else work on it. Now, the first of these jams is an indie game jam put together by a Discord group I've just joined that a lot of the past the game devs have also been involved in. Okay, so brief aside here. They essentially, like someone in the past the game jam tried to set up a Discord for it, but when they set up the community thread for that, someone else came in and said, hey, this Discord is just getting established too, and it's essentially the same deal. You want to come along and there will be more people. And the guy who posted the Discord originally agreed to it, and so pointed everybody towards this new Discord. So yeah, that's basically what happened. Now, for this, now back to the game jam. And yes, it's called Indie Game Jam. The theme has yet to be revealed, but this one is going to have ranking and will require that I complete the game in full. So, looking forward to that. The second, and I'm really glad somebody decided to do this, is the Pass the Game bonus round. It's a little follow-up jam that some of the Pass the Game Jam devs put together. And we're going to be working some of the games that were missed during the full jam, myself included. And I might do Keep the Light Alive again, since it didn't make it to day 6. Or I might work on somebody else's. Now, both of these jams will require that the game I create ends up completed in full, and that I make a build of the game, both of which will be new experiences for me. So I'm excited and looking forward to see what I can build in that time. Now, let's see, how long until the jam starts? Okay, day 7 official bonus round. Now let's head over to jams. I know you can't see this, give me a second. Jams joined. We've got Games We Pass Jam, bonus round, and Indie Dev Game Jam 1. The Indie Dev Game Jam starts 18 hours from now, which is 5:15 Central Time. And then Games We Pass Jam is going to start in 3 days. So, only 13 in the Games We Pass Jam. That sucks. But whatever. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. That's what I plan to do. And come September, we'll see how well I've done on it. Oh, and there was one other thing I should mention for momentum. I ended up creating an ability behavior script essentially from scratch. Like I had one, but it wasn't really very clean or very good. So I went back, did it over again, and I've got those set up now. I'm only bringing that up because I did it in the last like day or two. And I do plan to eventually cover all of the stuff that I did with Momentum up until this point once I get my data back. So yeah, that's it. Bye. This is Half.